Jonah cried, snatching at her sleeve. "Have you seen Mama and Dad?" Patrice swayed, holding on to Jonah to keep from falling over. Foam bubbled on her lips, dripped down her chin. She stared at him, wide-eyed, like she didn't recognize him, then floundered backward and wobbled on, heading for the lake. People were running in all directions, some toward the lake, maybe hoping to cool themselves in its waters, others toward the healing halls. Some ran screaming, flailing their arms, like they were being chased by monsters. Jonah saw one man barrel into another. They both fell to the ground, punching and kicking each other. Terrified, Jonah ran for the cluster of family homes called Oka that housed those that worked in the performing arts. Until a month ago, Jonah had lived there with his parents, his younger brother, and baby sister. Then, since it was getting crowded and he was nearly 7, he'd moved into the Sevens dorm. All the 7-year-olds stayed there, regardless of what guild they came from. Some of the Oka were dark, ominously quiet. Others were ablaze with lights. Dogs barked at Jonah from open doorways as he followed the familiar path to his own family's dwelling. He had to stop once and throw up into the bushes. The house was dark, but through the front windows, Jonah saw an odd flickering light, like flame, but more bluish than orange and red. He burst into the house calling, "Mama? Dad?" No answer. He slid back the screen that divided his parents' room from the main room. They were still in bed. He could see their familiar shapes in their double hammock, but no reassuring rush of love came his way. Jonah inched closer. Mama lay on her back, a rag on her forehead, face milk white, her lips blue. There was a cup on the window ledge next to her. His father lay face down beside her. They were dead. Jonah had been punched in the stomach once, so hard that he couldn't seem to drag breath back into his body. It felt a lot like that. Shaking his head no, he backed out of the room, hands raised in front of him. Once in the main room, he smelled smoke. Something was definitely burning, and the smell seemed to be coming from the space that Kenzie and Marcy now shared. Jonah eased open the screen to his old room. Marcy was standing in her crib, giggling and pointing, the light from the flames painting her face an odd color of blue. Kenzie's side of the room was ablaze, and now and then a flame arced out from the inferno as if someone were shooting off rockets. At the center of the fire, Jonah's 5-year-old brother, Kenzie, burned brightest of all. Like a human sacrifice to the old gods, one of the healers, Jeanette, sometimes talked about. Burning and burning, yet not burning up. Dizzy, sick and confused, Jonah wanted to lie down on the floor, close his eyes, and go back to sleep. He wanted Mama to wake him from this nightmare and stroke his hair and tell him it was all a dream. He wanted a grown-up to figure out what to do. But there was only Jonah, and he was almost 7 years old, and if he didn't do something, nobody would. Blotting the tears from his eyes, he snatched up a blanket draped over the side of the crib and wrapped Marcy up in it. Dropping the side of the crib, he lifted her out. Marcy pointed over Jonah's shoulder and cried, "Key!" which was her word for Kenzie. "Come on, Marcy," Jonah said. "Let's get out of here before this place burns up." She struggled in his arms as he crossed the threshold. "Key!" she cried. "Key!" She continued to kick and squirm, and Jonah's strength was dwindling fast. "Marcy," he pleaded, as they left the shelter of the trees. "Hold still. I can't carry you if you're wiggling." "Key," she said again. "I know," he said. "I didn't forget him. I just can't carry both of you at once." 2 of the 12s were